As you've seen from the title of the video, today we are talking about one of South Africa's hip-hop pioneers, the controversial executive or music executive Nota Baloyi. Nota says that makeup is for corpses. So it just happens that I'm talking about him, talking about makeup being for corpses, and I am putting makeup on my face. So this is a thriller. If you've seen the Michael Jackson video Thriller, you'd get it, because like they are corpses like that. Dance. Anyway, let's get right into the video. So anyway, Nota was having an interview on this podcast called Engineer Your Life, and they were talking about whatever, but I want to talk about like what I want to talk about, which is like the part where he speaks about makeup. Nota doesn't believe in makeup. He says he doesn't believe in makeup, which was no surprise for me. And he believes and says that he doesn't believe that young girls should be wearing makeup. And he says makeup is for corpses, and this is the reason that he gives. He goes on to further say that there's no life in a corpse, and that's why they put makeup on a corpse. So basically makeup is used on the corpse so that by the time you get to view the body or the person's face is at least looking decent. And then he says that he's against teenagers wearing makeup. And then the interviewer was interviewing him. I don't know his name, but it's not like the normal like guy, the owner of the podcast, if I can put it in that way. The interviewer then asked him, like, don't you believe like that young girls and it's like young girls wear makeup because it like boosts their confidence? And then he goes on to explain something. Here's the thing about Nota, guys. If you've never heard Nota speak before, you'd think that he's an airhead and that he just says like stuff like out of nowhere, and that he says stuff that don't make sense. And sometimes I do feel like he just like speaks out of his head. Nota says that he shows up to social media as authentic as possible. And I think maybe that's where the problem is, because I actually don't believe that people should be showing up to social media 100% authentic. In as much as we say, yeah, we should, I actually don't think so. I just believe, especially when you're so opinionated like Nota, there's certain conversations and certain things that make sense, and certain things you can get away with, and certain things that you can say on a public platform and will be received well. And there's certain things that you need to know that you can only have these type of conversations within a smaller circle, because chances are they maybe understand you like that, so they'll get like where you're coming from, or maybe they're of the same thought pattern as you. And then there's just certain things that, yes, you think those things, but it doesn't mean that it should come out of your mouth, or it doesn't mean that it should like be typed onto like these social media streets. And that's the thing with Nota. I think he's a very intelligent guy. But that's the thing about Tsonga guys. Like, is it just me? But like, what is it with Tsonga guys? Like, all my interactions, if not, or should I just say majority of my interactions with Tsonga guys, when you look at Nota, they are similar to him. They are these really confident guys, and they're not afraid to bring about controversy. Like, if you've ever worked with Tsonga guys, you'd know it's like in the office place, they are the people that will like ruffle people's feathers. They're just like that. I don't know why. If there's any Tsonga people, like, tell me, like, what is it? What is it about Tsonga people? Like, I think maybe it has to do with like maybe the way they were raised, the way Tsonga men were raised. And for me, it just gives off the vibes that they were really raised to be confident men, and men that are not afraid to speak out their mind. And listen, I love it for them. I enjoy I enjoy having conversations with those people. So the interviewer anyway was asking, like, don't you believe that makeup is actually, that it actually helps these girls boost their confidence? And Nota goes on to explain that, and I'm gonna paraphrase what he was saying. He was saying the more makeup the more makeup you wear, the more your confidence is built on the appearance that your makeup look gives you. And because you are so confident in this appearance and this look that makeup gives you, you are much more dependent on it. So he was saying that the more makeup you wear, the less confident you become. And he actually spoke about another element which is maybe gonna feed into like some of the conversations we're gonna be having. He was saying that a lot of the food that he was speaking about, like young girls, but I'm just gonna say we. A lot of the food that we consume isn't actually healthy for our bodies, and our bodies react to that food, and then we try and use makeup to basically cover up the reaction of whatever we are putting. We try and use chemicals, outside chemicals. We try and use products to kind of correct the work that is being done, or the harm that is being done by like what we're putting into our bodies. And I think that part, I want to like maybe speak a little bit on that part, or I want to elaborate or have our conversation around that part, because with that, I honestly totally agree with Nota. And I know this is not the story of everyone. This is not the truth for everyone. There are some people who have never had confidence issues, and when they started wearing makeup, it was purely just something that a talent they loved. They just liked applying makeup on themselves, and that was it for them. So people have different stories. However, what Nota was speaking about, I can relate to it so much, because I feel like I was going through, when I started wearing makeup heavily, I was going through issues with my skin. I'm still going through issues with my skin, by the way, if you can't see. I was going through issues with my skin, but because I didn't have a healthy relationship with my skin, I felt like makeup was gonna kind of like cover up the issues and my insecurities that I had with my face, which in reverse took away my confidence to be seen without makeup. I also one day want us to talk about pretty girl privilege, because it is a thing. And I also want us to actually talk about unfair advantages, or unfair disadvantages rather, on a separate video. But Nota said something. He said that when you are considered as an ugly person, and that's his word, I don't believe there's something as an ugly person, but I get what he's talking about. He's talking about your symmetrical features, right? So he's basically saying that when you don't meet the conventional like standards of what society calls pretty, your chances in life as a woman is different as opposed to the person who is, or as opposed to a woman who is defined as pretty and having like perfect features. And the reason why I actually even said I want us, like maybe in a separate video or whenever, to actually speak about like pretty girl privilege, because with pretty girl privilege, especially when it comes to the dating pool, guys, your chances, how do I put it in a way that's not gonna make me sound somehow, because I'm not trying to, like, your chances, your dating pool, and the men the type of men that you have to your disposal in terms of dating is way less than a person who is conventionally pretty. A person who's conventionally pretty at most times in society, guys, has the liberty of choosing whatever guy she wants. She doesn't feel pressure to get into a relationship with a guy or commit to a guy because she's got many options. There's many guys who come and ask her out. I know some people would not get this, and some people will be like, no, like there's no such thing. But depending on what age group you fall into, like guys, this is actually a real thing. I actually had a lady years back who was she actually wanted to settle down, but she's like, I'm not having like the right guys come and ask me out. Most of these guys were actually like fit my qualities of what I desire out of a man. Friend zone me, and when I tell them they're interested in me, when I tell them I'm interested in them, they are not interested in a romantic way. And someone might say, well, you just haven't found like the perfect guy for you. And yes, that might be true, but the reality of it is that she doesn't get to just like swipe, and choose like a whole lot of guys, as opposed to like the other one who has an advantage. So it is actually a real thing. And bringing it back to makeup, fun fact, guys, like in my head, I've got like a whole lot of like folders like open. So I can be having a conversation about something and then like divert to something else that is linked to that, and divert into like something else. Like that's just how my head operates. So if you think I'm all over the place, guys, like that's just like my thought process. That's just like how I am. But bring it back to the topic, I do think that might be, and I'm not saying it's the case, I do think that there's a possibility of the reason why so many women like cling onto makeup and cling onto like wearing makeup so religiously and so much, and putting their confidence in makeup and feeling as if they're prettier wearing makeup, is because of that factor that when you are dressed in makeup, you show up as presentable. Let's be honest, guys, that the way you look with makeup and the way you look without makeup isn't the same. And makeup does make you look, put together. Makeup can transform your face. That's why we contour and put like this middle thing in like on our nose to give, that like elongated like look of the nose. You can basically shape your features to your desire. So if people perceive that when I show up wearing makeup, I'm received differently, I'm received in a much more positive manner, I get much more attention, then it makes sense as to why someone would cling to it. And again, this is not the truth for everyone, but I do think to a certain extent, this was a truth for me. If we are being quite honest, we all know what it's like to look at our faces in the mirror and sometimes wish like there's certain things you could tweak. I wish I had bigger lips, I wish I had smaller eyes, I wish I had like a much more smaller nose. Like, we all know what that is like, especially as women. So I honestly think that struggling with our physical appearances, especially as women, is a fundamentally human thing. So let me backtrack on my story a little bit. I've always struggled with skin, and not just only like my facial skin, like just skin. I've got very like sensitive skin. And for me, it was like always such a struggle because like there's this whole thing of having perfect skin and what perfect skin looks like. And that's why I mentioned that I wanted to add like the skin element to it, because I honestly feel like we can't speak about makeup without speaking about skin. Back then, I didn't even wear sunscreen. I didn't even know the concept of like wearing sunscreen. So whenever I was out in the sun, like I'd always have like this heat rash, and like I'd always get comments from people like, like what is it with your face? And like, yo guys, like, and my eating habits were like very bad. Like I am like, I love junk. I love, 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 love. Like I can literally like just live on junk and not live on food. That's how much I love junk. So my eating habits were like really bad, and I had like these white pimples like on my face, and then when they'd fade out, they'd like leave these marks on my face, and then hyperpigmentation. So when I was kind of introduced to makeup, I really felt like makeup was gonna kind of like conceal the insecurities that I had. And I think I've mentioned this before, that I appreciate the information that's available today that comes with skin and comes with understanding the ingredients that go into these makeup products. So you are then making an informed decision of what you are actually putting onto your face. But back then, you didn't even really care. I actually didn't really care of what I was putting on my face. All I knew is that I just wanted to, at least look decent. And back then, we didn't used to wear like concealer, like makeup. There was a point where makeup was just literally eyeliner. There was a point where makeup was just like mascara. If you said you were wearing makeup, you were just wearing mascara. And then there was a point where like just wearing makeup was just foundation. So that's what I used to wear, foundation. There was no concealer, your setting powders, all these steps, like they were pretty much non-existent. So the foundation just kind of like concealed the hyperpigmentation, and just at least I felt like I could show up without like people making remarks and comments on my face. But then it turned out to something where now I was like wearing makeup like 6 out of 7 days in a week. And that 6th day would be like if I'm not going out. So if I would go out, then it would turn out to like 7 out of 7 days in a week, like wearing makeup, because I just felt like I was received better. 90% of the time when you see people wear makeup religiously like that, it's not because they're trying to be dramatic. So that was me. I was wearing makeup that oftenly, and it was eating away from my confidence without makeup. And I just used to look at these girls like just show up with their skin, like glowy skin, looking pretty with just Vaseline on their lips, and I'm like, some people like have like nice life problems. But I remember there was a time I once attempted to like show up at work without makeup, and I remember someone just saying, yo, like this is you without makeup. And I just remember like feeling so embarrassed. I remember just feeling like that means like I remember feeling that means like I'm really like ugly for a person like to be able to know that extreme difference. And like a lot of people like were able to pick up that, and that just like made me feel like, nope, I'm not doing that again. Like I'm going back to makeup. Up until I said this in one of my videos, lockdown came and like I was forced to like deal with my skin issues. But coming to skin issues, guys, like there's this whole thing of perfect skin, like our obsession with like perfect skin. And I remember listening to like a podcast with Umi Lidwaba. She was having a conversation with 3 other women, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was like a Nivea, some like Nivea sponsored content, but they were speaking about skin. And like I enjoyed that episode so much because I could relate to it so much, that we have such a flawed understanding of like what healthy skin is. And to us, we think healthy skin means perfect skin. And this one doctor or scientist was actually saying that there's no such thing as like perfect skin. There's no such thing as perfect skin, but there is such thing as like healthy looking skin, and that's what we should strive for. And I think the more we are able to have like access and conversations like that, I think it kind of teaches us to like be a little bit much more graceful for people who are really going through issues with their skin. Because makeup, guys, makeup is good to wear, but there's times where you just like, you're tired of makeup. I love makeup, but The funny thing is, like, I wear makeup like once a week. If I'm really having like a busy, hectic week, it will be most like twice a week. But if I can go a week without wearing makeup, trust me, like, I will go for that without a doubt. So I honestly think the more we are able to have conversations around that, the goal is not perfect looking skin, the goal is healthy looking skin. And sometimes you can have healthy skin and still have a rash. The fact that I have a rash on my skin, well, depending on the diagnosis, doesn't necessarily mean that I have unhealthy skin. It just means I have a sensitive skin that reacts much more easily to like the heat and my environment than the next person, and that would just mean that I need to take extra measures than an ordinary person who doesn't have skin issues to make sure that I don't have rash on my face. Having a pimple now and then, it's not a signal of not having healthy skin, Some of these things are natural and it's normal, especially as women. There's just so much that is happening in our bodies. So I think when these conversations are had, I am then much more likely, if I have a skin condition, I am then much more likely to show up in these spaces or to show up in a space with my rash and still be confident without feeling like people are going to judge me because they are misinformed. I also think another thing that greatly affects our confidence in our skin is filters. And in all honesty, guys, I think the more I have conversations with you guys, the more you kind of pick up that I'm very much for candid, open, honest conversations. I do use filters, so I'm not even trying to shame anyone who uses filters. I remember this one lady commenting. She's also a YouTuber, commenting of one of my pictures on Instagram, and she's like, yo, your skin looks so good. And I just said thank you because that was not an opportunity for me to say hi. Someone, I think I can't remember when I was having a conversation a while back when I was saying I struggle to receive compliments, and someone was saying sometimes just learn to say thank you, don't go into. So I was like, I need to also learn. I'm not gonna go into the nitty-gritties of I'm wearing I have a filter there, my skin is not. I just said thank you and then I kept it moving. But and I know that person struggles with her skin, but stuff with skin, guys, it's such a sensitive issue. That's why you just can't go around giving unwarranted advice pertaining people's skin, because it really is a sensitive issue. And maybe if you've never went through the struggles of struggling with skin, you wouldn't understand why a person would take offense of them commenting. But some things, guys, especially when you can see that something, the thing is it's not every time I wake up and I look at myself in the mirror, I can see what's going on, guys. So chances are the person is not oblivious to what you're seeing and what you're telling them. They know it already, and trust me, they don't need you to repeat it to their face again. So when it comes to skin stuff, if you didn't know, now you know. It's a pleasure. Especially if you're a guy. I don't know if guys, yes, there are some guys. According to my analytics, there are some guys. There used to be a guy who used to always ask me about my skin, and I just didn't want to be rude, but I used to get so irritated every time he'd be what's going on with your skin and blah blah blah, and I'm like, Holy Spirit, help me. So if you're a guy, just stay out of it, unless again, it depends on the relationship you have with the person, unless you're that close with the person. But still, you need to know your boundaries. So I want to know, guys, like, what is your take on filters? What is your take on filters? Because I do feel like filters have an effect with how at times we're afraid to show up with our faces, because maybe we've posted so many pictures on social media, we've showed up so many times with filters. Like, some people actually wear makeup and still wear a filter on top. And while it might seem so like non-important and not deep for some people, like, some other people will not even understand like the thing in having this conversation. But for some people, guys, it really is a big thing. There's some people who can't show up to social media without a filter. Some people who are actually afraid to make certain appearances because they're afraid that what they've shown you on social media is not really like them, or not really like what they actually look like in real life. So at times we might not say it, but we are a bit judgmental towards people who are forever like wearing like makeup, like how I was, like people who show up to gym wearing makeup, which I have done before, like crazy things. Like, then guys, there was even a time I went swimming with makeup, and I made sure that I was wearing waterproof makeup. Guys, I swam with makeup. Like, I'm not kidding you. Like, I have people who can like testify of this. I have pictures of this. I swam with makeup. So sometimes, like, you might think it's not that deep, but for some of us, it is really deep. And there's a deeper issue, and there's a deeper thing that some people are dealing with than what meets their eye. So sometimes just show a little grace towards people who show up with filters all the time. Just show a little grace to people who always like show up with makeup all the time. And just always remember what I said, that sometimes people might be dealing with stuff that is way deeper than what actually meets their eye, and it's not just going to be solved with just wiping makeup away. All right, I'm gonna end off the video right here. Tell me what you think of this conversation. I don't even know, guys, like, do people even subscribe anymore when you ask them to subscribe? I don't know, but here, I'll give it a go. Please do subscribe if you haven't. Please do make sure that you like the video before exiting it. Leave a comment if you would like to, and yep, I'll see you next time. Bye for now.